Good morning. It's August 2nd. I'm Sabah Hussein. I'm sorry, I've had kind of a slow this morning. But we're up and running now. So that took a minute or two. We do have, we're between payments 1 and 2 right now. Mostly AZEDS is up and running. So hopefully this goes pretty smoothly. We updated, or let me start slowly so that people have a chance to hit refresh and get in. So normally I'll start with a little housekeeping. The screen you're looking at looks like a YouTube video, but unlike a YouTube video, I won't be monitoring the comments. Instead, at the top of the video, it says ask a question at slides.app.google A69UK. That's the URL for the kind of Q&A tab. You can either log in on a separate browser or you can use the same browser. I think some people have had limited success using their cell phone browser, but in any case, we've got a couple of different webinar options in the works, so hopefully we get a better platform soon. So if you haven't communicated with school finance before, and I'm hoping you're one of the new charters, school finance is primarily concerned with dispersing state aid to school districts and charters. We use student data for that, but we also use other data points to do that. So for example, we maintain a database of all of the schools and things like that. So if you have a question about your data, a great place to start is by contacting school finance. Our number is 602-542-5695. Or you can email my team directly. They don't mind at all. The biggest thing I wanted to talk to you today about is just 915s, because I think there is a time period where people want to appeal their A through F, and so they want to edit their 2018 data, and so I want to kind of walk you through 915s. I don't know if you've ever seen this little drawing I've done before, but I do use it over and over. This is the AZEDS through payment system map for school finance. So the little man all the way to the left and the computer he's holding represent an LEA and the SIS that they need to use to interact with AZEDS. Right next to it is a vertical line, which is the API. It's the way that your SIS accesses AZEDS and writes to the verification table. There are some reports you can view there. The API is generally available 24/7. Integrity runs every night after 5, and so there are some reports that show post-integrity results, and then ACE runs immediately after integrity. So that's that map. We do an actual, a manual process once a month. It's called data push, and it takes aggregate values from ACE, which is the ADM calculation engine in AZEDS, and pushes it to the database that the payment system reads from. So we do an actual literal push, and at the time of the push, the ADMS 46-1 and the SPED and ELS28s are generated and they're publicly visible. And so that's kind of how you know the join between where do we calculate ADM and what do we use for payment, is that you have an ADM 20 that matches an ADMS 46-1, and then APOR and char run. And I walked you through this whole thing because I want to talk about what a 915 is. So if I zoom in a little bit, there isn't just one verification database. There's one for each fiscal year, because at the end of every year, we close the fiscal year out. So I'm sorry for the cartooning of this. So essentially right now, 2020 is the current fiscal year, and it's the only one that's actually fully open. 2017, 2018, and 2019 are locked. When you, for example, request a 915 for 2018, you'll send us a letter, and you'll attach to the letter your a CSV that is your allowed values list. We'll give the API that allowed value list, and that'll leave 2018 partially open for only the students and schools that are on that allowed list, so that you can process your data again. While that window is open, integrity will run for your entire LEA and all the students that you submitted. Then when the window was closed, it'll lock back up again. So sorry for that kind of brute force cartoon there, but that's what that one's for. And the reason I wanted to walk you through that is because a lot of people haven't done a 915 AZs yet, so there is a little bit of fear when people start one. So I kind of just wanted to walk you through what's going to be involved. And then we walk you to our current guidance on how to open a 915. So the ADE website is www.az.gov. AZ like Arizona and ED like education.gov. If you haven't been here before, the website has two menus on every page. The dark blue menu at the very top of the screen is the whole pages menu. The light blue is the current page that you're on. And I usually just type az.gov/finance, but the way to get there is through schools and teachers, school support, school finance. So finance is kind of a couple of menus in. It's not too bad. I usually just type finance. And so in our knowledge center, is the guideline for requesting prior year corrections. And we have to be very clear that we're talking about prior year corrections because every fiscal year is locked at the end of the year. You can also request prior year corrections to budget capacity and to transportation. So this document, I may be zoomed in too far, walks you through how to do it for each of those kinds of requests. There is some slight overviews just to want to talk you through. For example, we don't want a letter to request access to 3 years worth of budgets and student data. We're going to be asking for separate letters for each of these because we want you to proceed carefully and thoughtfully because we're opening up your data, which is a potential to change your payment. So we want to be careful and we want to document what we're doing. For the AZs one, we're going to be asking you to include some things in the letter. So that's here on the second page of the thing. The last part is the part where I want to quick brief you on what's happening with 2019 915s. So there is something called the external CSV file specification on the AZ's website, and that describes how to build that allow list that we use in the filter. We don't have one yet for 2019 because there was a change in data for 19 that impacts 6 LEAs. But essentially, it's those 6 LEAs need to be able to update some STC data for ADM purposes. So that means we're going to have new kinds of resources available in a 915. So broadly and maybe overly technically, a resource is just the name of the table that you're posting data to. So for example, a membership, the resource is called Student School Association. It's the link between a student and a school. And so if you go to the actual file specification, I'll use 2018. And I'll zoom in. It gives you the lists of resources that are allowed as part of the 915. So this one has, there it is, student school associations, and then student program associations, and things like that. And so the allow list for a 915 is based on a student. So for 2019, there will be some broader resources that have students on them. So for STC, for example, you have to set up local course codes and locations and staff. Those are resources that don't have student on it. So IT is almost done building kind of the space between when do we use this allow list that you attach to your letter and when do we just let you have access to a resource without students. So we'll be updating the process to allow 2019 915s, hopefully next week. I think IT announced it to the SIS vendors I think this Wednesday. So I think we're on track to start doing that. The other part I wanted to tell you was my team has 86 915s open right now. And part of the reason there are so many is some people can blast through a 915 in a week, and some people need a full 3 months to process their 915. And so one of my team used the analogy of juggling plates, just you don't know how long each plate is going to be spinning. So they managed to open 22 new 915s in June and about 14 in July. So they are juggling plates is pretty apt. And then there's an additional 80 that are waiting. And of those 80, only 14 of them are fiscal year 19. So I'm assuming the other 66 are related to either 18 for payments reasons or 18 for accountability reasons. So we are paying attention, we are prioritizing it. It's just, it is juggling plates right now. So we're kind of picking through them a little bit at a time. So I just wanted to walk you through the details of how and what and why we're doing with 915s in case you need help starting one. My team is the perfect point for that one. Otherwise, I know accountability is pretty prepped on how that whole thing works. So there was that. Oh, I forgot my mouse is going to do this today. Oh, I think this might be a question for Irvin. I jumped ahead to Q&A, sorry. Anonymous user is asking, what's the status on private day school, residential treatment center, and Head Start program calendars being deleted?
We're working with the vendors for the fix, and they're planning for next week.
Oh, that's good. So this is vendors know about it, and they're working on a fix.
They are currently working right now.
So I'll keep Lyle in the loop as we get closer to the second payment deadline so that we understand the data that we're looking at, which is the next question. Anonymous user is asking, what will the September 1 payment be based on? We are using the AZ's database for all LEAs, regardless of district or charter. There are a couple of new charters that we're working with IT on literally today to make sure that they get into AZs. But otherwise, we're using it for all of the data, and most people are submitting okay. I know one LEA reached out to me because they switched sys vendors and they're concerned that the next 9 days won't be enough time to submit, so we'll be tracking that pretty closely. If you have concerns about your data, you can definitely email my team. Oh wait, here's a related question. Anonymous users asking, will charter estimate accounts be used for the September 1 payment? It will not be. Our problem with charter estimate accounts is that, for example, if Irene is a student on the wait list for each my school and Irvin school, school finance would end up paying for Irene as a student twice. If we use AZs, then Irene would be limited to 0.5 for each school. So that's why we're using AZs. Also, permissions to AZs is much cleaner, and so everybody can have equal access to it. We're having some problem where a couple of LEAs couldn't get access to charter estimate accounts. So, oh, here's an interesting one, and I'll have to take it down to IT. It says, there's a question for Satish Patisapu. At the may ask us, the last slide of the PowerPoint said, follow ADEIT on Facebook and Twitter. That's...
There's links on the website.
Okay, Irvin made a puzzled face and he says there's links on the website, so let's take a second and see if we can get there. Sorry, I have been talking too fast. When you say the website, you mean the AZ's website?
Mm-hmm. Unless I'm mistaken, I remember one time they had it up there in the...
So I've gone back to the ADE website, which is www.az.gov. To get to the IT website, it's a little bit easier. You go hover over ADE and choose Data and Technology. And AZ's is part of A-List, so usually either of these work, so I'm going to just jump straight to AZ's.
Right there on the right-hand side.
Oh, look! Okay, so I found a link for Twitter, and I found a link for Facebook, and I don't know who's logged into this computer, but I'm going to click it. Oh, interesting. It showed up on another screen. Sorry, let me grab it. It's asking me to log in. And let me grab the Facebook one as well. Oops, something else is, yep, another little window popped up asking me to log in. So the way that we got there was go to the ADE website, and then you have to go to IT, which is within the A-List section. So Data and Technology. I happened to choose AZ's and it was top of that one, but I guess we can try another one. We'll try A-List and see if it's there. Okay, so it's not on the A-list one, but it was definitely on the AZ's one. Oh wait, no, there it is. It's just taking me it's taking a second to load. Um, so I think that's it, but I'll still take it to IT and see what's going on. I think I see a conversation in the questions, so let me get back to the questions. We are looking at state student numbers for incoming kindergartens and have come across many that already have multiple IDs. Can school finance see who's creating new IDs when one exists? Please punish the culprits. Give me 1 second to flip to a different one. A better fix to this is to fix the identity query as it is faulty. That's why so many multiple IDs are coming. Honestly, we've been meeting about this all summer, and there's a couple of things we've learned. The query, the ability to search for an individual student, and I'm sorry to use Irene Garcia Hobbs again, but say you're searching for a student called Irene Garcia Hobbs. There are two ways that you can search for a student. Your SIS, your Student Information System, has an API to student identity, and you can go to the AZ's portal and go to student identity there. So there's two different ways. Either you can search on a web user interface, or your SIS can search using the API. It turns out that the results each one get are slightly different. I think the web one is more generous and will search for more kinds of people, whereas I think the one on the SIS side will search only for active students or something like that. So for the time being, I would recommend searching both ways because you'll find it that way. But one thing we did find was sometimes people hit resolve really frequently. So we're starting to write guidance about that. There is a way to generate a new student using the web user interface, and there is a way to generate a new student using your SIS. And some people just use the button in the SIS repeatedly instead of syncing the student, and that ends up creating a couple additional IDs. What Lyle is finding as he's kind of researching the IDs in depth is that there are some IDs that are completely unattached from membership, completely unattached from STC, or unattached from being the parent of a student. So there's some IDs that are just floating out there. So we were literally sitting down this past week and we're talking it through with IT. Is there a way to cull some of those unused IDs? For example, if Irene Garcia Hobbs was a kindergartner back in 2016 and we created her IDs then, and it took us a couple of tries to make sure we got the spelling right and things like this, and between a couple of schools they entered her over and over. But from then onwards, she's only been using, for example, ID number 123. Any additional numbers maybe we'll get rid of now that she's concretely got this one ID. So we've been talking this one through with IT. I know we brought it up at the most recent Ask Us meeting and kind of talked through the repercussions on both sides. What happens when we try to do these things? Oh, here's another really good comment in the discussion. Anonymous user saying sometimes two IDs show up for the same kids and schools don't know which one to use. We agree, and that's another point that we were talking about in our meetings. So we're hoping to make the search results a little clearer to you. Worst case, did I jump? No, I started reading something. Ooh, my brain went blank. Worst case, you can call my team and they'll look at both IDs and tell you which one is the one that's already been associated with the kid. And I know that's a little bit annoying, but it's not like a time crunch. So let's say you wanted to upload everybody for August 13th, and you just picked one or two IDs and you flagged a couple of kids for follow-up. If, for example, you end up calling my team in September and saying, hey, will you look at these two IDs? It should be relatively easy during the current year to delete the membership on the wrong ID and post it on the correct ID. And that should be kind of not a merge situation, just a really quick, just delete and repost. And your payment should not be interrupted if you wait till after August 13th. So, oh, wait, I was waiting for this one. Anonymous users asking, is there guidance yet on what to do about generational suffix when official documents show it differently? Lyle wants to take this one upstairs and kind of talk it through with policy, but he said, in the interim, choose the birth certificate just because we have to do work now. but we do want to kind of sit down as an agency and make sure we have concise guidance on it. So, oh, I think an anonymous user is providing their, let's say, their successful tactics on this one. That if you use the web user interface for AZ's identity and click more information, you can see which of the two IDs has a membership on it. That works as well. Oh no. Oh no, I got this question last year. This is disappointing. Anonymous users asking, when will teacher input application be available? It says, teacher input application is currently unavailable pending completion of processing by school finance. This happens, I don't know who put in the original message, but every year I ask them to change it because it's not dependent on school finance that badly. I'll go down and talk to them, make sure they understand what's going on. The IT worked really hard this past year on improving our database that manages schools. So in theory, the teacher input application in prior year on the older system was dependent on waiting for new schools to be input. New schools are currently input, so I'll just go down and try to meet with them and see what's going on.
I have the phone number that people for more information.
Ooh. Irene has apparently been getting this question all week. I'm so sorry, but she says if you'd like to call educator and school excellence, you can reach them at 602-364-3345, but I'll still go touch base with them because the message shouldn't be up. Anyway, fun day all around. Oh, I think someone's got a suggestion. Anonymous user says, it would be great if the EdFi ID could be included on the Teacher Educator Pro. Oh, in TIA? Oh, that's interesting. I know we do it in the reverse, that when you submit them to AZs, you include their 16-digit TIA stakeholder ID. So that's interesting. I save these every week, so I'll take that one to the next time we meet to talk about teacher data. That's really interesting. I think this might be input on the discussion of duplicate IDs. Anonymous user is commenting. We are asking for merging a bunch of IDs. EL is a problem if they took the test on one ID and a new school used the other ID, and then we don't find out until we get the EL error. Yes, that is frustrating. I know Assessments has made some pretty good strides over the summer on their background systems, but I agree, this is a symptom of our problem. I don't have anything constructive to make it easier for you today, I'm sorry. But I will take this feedback. Yeah, I don't have any constructive things to add to that, I'm sorry.
It's definitely something that we're looking at each time that we process them. And when we have questions, we reach out to the department.
Irene says it's definitely something my team keeps in mind when they process a merge and they reach out to Assessments to kind of check with them which of the two students to merge to. So. I think this might be a summation of our discussion. So anonymous user is suggesting that we provide guidance for registrars on how and when to assign a new ID. And I 100% agree. That's kind of one of the goals that we're working towards as we're meeting and talking about our ID problem. So I just want to touch base with a couple of program areas around the agency because there are a few students who, for whatever reason, for example, maybe they're attending a BIA, won't have membership data that looks like all of the other students that are in AZs, or, for example, a student on a preschool development grant or something like that. So I just want to make sure that when we create that guidance, we do it so it works for everybody. So I'm fishing for stakeholders and making sure we're all able to describe the way we're using IDs the same way. So thank you. That's hopefully the goal. So we've got a symptom in here, we've got a goal in here. I've got a couple others in our meeting group, and I know, for example, this CTO is working on chipping away at the problem literally this week. So on your search results. So I hope we're headed in the right direction. But I'm always optimistic. That's maybe my biggest problem. Irene is very kindly nodding. I definitely need a weekend. You can hear my voice is really going. I really appreciate your participation. I think I marked out a date for the next. Come on, mouse. I have to scroll across 3. The next date. And there's a couple of things this week that we want to finish out improving our page here. Yeah, the 16th. So we'll see you on the 16th. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope to have a restful weekend and get my voice back. I really appreciate your participation, and have a nice weekend.